course, one of the political parties hoping to dislodge the Governor of Progressives Congress is the All Progressives Grand Alliance, or APGA. The presidential candidate of the party, Professor Peter Umeadi, who has nominated Abdullahi Mohammed Kohli as his vice presidential candidate for the 2023 general election, says he is prepared to leverage on his background as a former chief judge of Anambra State and years of practice in the legal profession to reposition Nigeria into a country where the rule of law prevails. But APGA currently has a leadership tussle also that has seen some leaders of the party having challenges on the issue of national chairmanship, and stakeholders are saying that it may have itself to blame if it doesn't settle these issues. But of course, this is a political party that has a governor in Anambra State at the moment, and of course it has legislators in different states. Now, the bone of contention has been the leadership tussle between Victor Oye and Edozie Njoku, both laying claim to the national chairmanship of the party, and of course the case has gone up onto the Supreme Court. Well, our presidential candidate who is joining us now at the moment will be speaking to these and many other issues. And of course, joining us right here in the studio is Professor Peter Umeadi, who is the APGA presidential candidate. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Sir.
Has it been since your declaration, and of course we've seen you announcing your vice presidential candidate, how prepared is APGA to slug it out with other political parties before we get into your main issues in the party?
Yes, APGA is prepared for the presidential election of 2023, and APGA is in the process of checking out all the structures across the country, and they are responding positively, and we look forward to a positive result from the elections. Yeah,
and while other political parties have been having controversies in the selection of their vice presidential candidate, you didn't seem to have one. Why did you go north to actually choose one?
Yes, you see, the issue is that APGA is well structured, and when the nomination started to get tickets for parties, people will choose where they want to go. I've been the first person to declare my intention. I know that that is in APGA, and I doubt if there's any other candidate who did announce before me. I announced on the 20th of March 2019. And if you remember, at the time I announced was the same day I joined APGA.
Yeah.
And the truth was, even at that time, there were doubts if APGA could win Anambra itself.
Yeah, because of the several controversies and all of that.
Well, a lot of conspiracy theories, but I saw it ahead, and I knew that APGA would be the party to beat, and it's going to play out.
Okay, let's talk about the crisis in APGA now. Which of the groups do you belong to as the presidential candidate? Are you with Edozie Njoku or you are with Victor Oye? Because, I mean, there's this Supreme Court judgment which is causing a lot of confusion. Even the electoral body, INEC, seem to be taking the steps to study that judgment. What exactly is happening with your party's leadership?
Well, you have introduced me as the presidential candidate of APGA.
Yes.
So I will stand on that. And the way it is this. INEC has come a long way. INEC no longer accepts hard copies in matters relating to elections. Anything you want to give into INEC, you have to upload it into their system.
Through a portal.
To a portal. And now INEC has devised it in such a way that nothing comes from a political party unless it is signified by the chairman of the party. So INEC decides by their own parameters who is the chairman of the party and gives that code. And that code is one. It comes with, I think it has to, it comes with biometrics and all that. So the man who has that code is Chief Dr. Victor Ikeoye. And that's why you are safely regarding me and announcing me as the presidential candidate of ABGA. Because if you get into ABGA, which is the Electoral Commission, the name you see there will be the name of Peter Nnachukwu Umeadi. The vice presidential candidate for ABGA you see there will be Abdullahi Koli Mohammed. So that is it.
Yeah, and of course, we had to, call you the ABGA presidential candidate because prior to that case at the Supreme Court, it was eventually Victor Oye that was, producing some of the candidates and all of that. But we now go on straight to the issues for Nigeria. What are your plans for the people of Nigeria? Whose vote you want to seek in 2023?
Well, yes, I have said it from the onset. My aspiration is predicated on the votes of majority of Nigerians. That is to say, when the votes are counted, I expect to get majority votes from across Nigeria. That's what I rely on.
Now, what exactly would you want to say are the driving indices that have made you to want to seek the vote of Nigerians? I mean, you have the majority parties, and the APC is there, the PDP is there with Atiku Abubakar, and of course the likes of Bola Tinubu. What gives you the confidence that you can defeat these people, or even Peter Obi of the Labour Party, or even Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso of the NNPP? Because we haven't been hearing so much about ABGA when it comes to the presidential election. It's more about the controversies with the national chairmanship.
Yes, the issue with the elections kept on changing since President Buhari came into power. Maybe not as quickly as we expected, but the INEC has been doing better than it did in previous elections coming up. And now with the Electoral Act of 2022, things suddenly, have changed dramatically. And then the issue of BIVAX also nails it in the sense that you're not going to have those big numbers. You remember Fela when he says people will not go vote, then they can't get those big numbers. They will disappear. Because what happens from what we know is that it is what is recorded by BIVAC that will be considered. All other variables being brought into the picture. So what it means is that the integrity of the election itself has improved.
Yeah, and what gives you the confidence that you can defeat Bola Tinubu or Atiku Abubakar?
That is exactly what I'm saying. Now, what you do is what we have been doing. Get down to those people who have the votes and try to convince them to vote ABGA. And they are responding positively. And if we rake in those votes across the country, we're going to be in contention, serious contention.
Yeah, and I mean, you were in Asaba. I saw these photos of you meeting with people and you trying to organize ahead of the elections. What have you been hearing from Nigerians in terms of their problems, and what sort of solutions do you think you will be providing if indeed they entrust you with their votes?
Well, the problems you hear above every other thing is a problem of insecurity. People are assaulted in broad daylight, and there's no reprieve to that. Of course, there is a runaway inflation, and the insecurity we talked about has brought about a lot of things. And the sad thing about the security thing is that it has been there for a long time, and we have watched it escalate in the sense that people don't go to farms. People have forgotten about farming as a sustenance venture, not to talk about farming for economic venture, which of course everybody wants to talk about what will turn around the economy which agriculture is always the basic thing, because with agriculture you could feed yourself and then you could have enough to export, and also so you begin to balance the numbers that you are going to rely on. So people are talking about that, and of course, you know, there's been strike in the educational sector. It's been going on for a long time.
Yeah, and people would ask, what will you do differently on the issue of this ASU strike, for example, if you're elected president?
The issue will be to increase the money you spend on education. I think that will be the first thing to do. We know that the numbers that the federal government is spending does not meet the minimum that UNESCO has brought up. And when you spend this money, there are a lot of things to take care of in education. Okay, we are now, looking at the university education and the strike. The primary schools, secondary schools are not spared in terms of how they get about their learning. And then there are a lot of children out there in the streets. And this is a social problem. And if you don't have that money, basically, so I would think of as a first line to jump to that UNESCO recommendation. It says 15 to 20%. I will start with 20%. That will mean, prioritizing what you are doing. Some other issues are going to take a back seat.
Yeah, but where will you get the money from? Because we keep hearing that Nigeria is broke at the moment.
From the money you have at the moment. You see the point? You see the point? You put something on the table and you begin to share. If you get me. After all, money is being spent in other areas. Then is it not for us to begin to find out which is more important?
Yeah, but if you listen to the Minister of Finance and, of course, our lawmakers, you hear them saying that Nigeria has a revenue problem. Yes, we have, the export of crude oil and all of that, and, of course, there's been a growth in the non-oil sector. What will you do to increase Nigeria's share of revenue so that we'll be able to have more funds to be able to dedicate to other sectors?
It's about priority. Those talking about Nigeria does not have money, have you not heard about the allowances being paid in certain areas that beats anything else you find in other countries? Then you begin to scheme from those people. That is the issue of priority.
Do you think that the APC has failed in living up to its campaign promises? And how will you rate the governing party?
Now, going to an election with the complaints which we are talking about security, about inflation, about health, there's no area that is spared. You cannot give the ruling party a pass mark.
And APGA has been a party that's stuck in Anambra State for years. We haven't seen APGA winning in any other state. It's just been there in the southeast, and some political observers will say that the Anambra State just keeps voting for APGA just to retain the memory of late Chief Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu. How do you intend to carry APGA away from Anambra to make it a national party that will make Nigerians to want to vote for this political party?
Yes, I am driving APGA the way it should be, to come to the national view and then win elections now that will have elections with a lot of integrity coming from INEC. You spoke about the Asaba meeting. If you know what it takes for delegates to come from Katsina, from Bauchi, from Port Harcourt, from Calabar, from Ekiti, from Oyo, from all over the country, to converge and be in one room overnight and brainstorm on how to flag off a campaign, then you know that we're not doing badly. And as I was coming to this studio, I got a call from Dr. Alpha Yusufu. He's running for Senate in Nasarawa. And
under APGA?
Under APGA.
Okay.
And the election of Senate and that of President is coming on the same day. Honorable Aisha Fare is running for House of Representatives in Katsina. Of course, you know what I'm saying. And the Director General of our campaign team is Ibrahim Garba, MNI. He's from Katsina. We're spread all over. The spokesman of the party is Obong Itaepo. He's from Akwa Ibom. A lot is going on there. A lot is going on across the country.
Waxing stronger, and of course,
yes.
I've seen Senator Senator Inaya Baribe joining your party.
Yes, in Abia. And then Professor Ibe is the candidate. You know what I'm saying? Professor Greg Ibe of Uturu University. You know him, and he has a large clout.
Okay. Now, nationally, there's always been these fears.
And don't forget that, well, you said Southeast. Don't forget, Abga won Imo State with Rocha Sokorocha.
Well, that was then.
Oh, yes. It was our ticket. We won it. Well, we won it. We won elsewhere. Yes.
Well, the thing is here. The thing here is that there's always been this challenge of APGA extending its tentacles beyond the southeast. Now, also considering how we play our politics in the nation, there's been this fear of giving someone who's an Igbo the opportunity to emerge as president. How have you been reaching out to other parts of the country, especially the north, to dispel that notion that an Igbo man it's not yet time for an Igbo man to be president of Nigeria?
Yeah, thank you. The way you handle these questions, because in your questions further down, you bring out the real cause of it. It's not really Igbo. The point is that, let me tell you, you know, when they say politics is local, it couldn't be truer than in Nigeria. In Nigeria, when it comes to election, we tend to get back into our tribal cocoon. That is what happens. Let nobody. So
do you think it's time for an Igbo president?
Well, it's time for an Igbo man to be president, because a man from the southeast ought to be president. And that will be what will heal Nigeria faster. And it's going to bring a lot on the table. And let me tell you now, having said it and hold on to it, Nigerians are not averse to an Igbo man being president, as it were. It is a general thing about being in this their tribal cocoon, which I started with. But luckily, they're going to come out of it. And with the integrity of the election, I keep talking about that. You see the point. With the integrity of the election, you're going to be surprised at how people are going to buy into that idea that a man from the southeast ought to be president this time around. And
if Nigerians are thinking of having someone from the southeast become the president of Nigeria in 2023, do you think it will be you in the face of Peter Obi of the Labour Party, who seems to be waxing strong and then meeting a lot of people too?
I'm working very hard for APGA to win the presidential election based on that. And from what I have shown to you, from the clips you have seen, like I said, these are men, these are not Igbo men.
So you don't think Peter Obi can withstand APGA, Peter Obi and his Labour Party?
Well, I'm talking about APGA. Every other candidate, I wish them luck. And I'm a fair man.
Yeah, but you come from the southeast, and of course, the way Peter Obi sells himself, it looks like he's trying to drive a narrative that among all of you coming from the southeast of the country, he seems to be the person that should be acceptable by other Nigerians more. And that's why I'm asking you, do you think you stand a chance where Peter Obi will be standing?
I'm doing a lot of work, and let us meet again after the election, and then we'll find out what my work has paid off with.
Okay.
I promise you that.
And let's talk about how you are trying to resolve the issues in your party. I mean, you are a former chief judge of Anambra State. How could we have people like you, and yet there will be crisis in APGA in terms of leadership? What are you doing to resolve that national chairmanship crisis?
My dear Sambo, you keep going back to a settled matter. You see, like we started, APGA has a national headquarters in Abuja. If you get to national headquarters in Abuja and you ask them, you want to see the chairman, they will lead you up to the chairman's office. If you get into that room, the man behind the seats is Chief Dr. Victor Ike Oye. So,
it's a settled matter. That's what you're saying.
What are you bringing a matter that does not exist?
Well,
more or less.
It actually exists because we've seen members of your party.
It exists in the press.
Who are aggrieved.
It exists in the media.
Who are aggrieved.
And it exists by you repeating something that is not there. Because if you get there, I've told you who you will meet with. And, and if you want to deal with INEC, I've told you whose fingerprint will be received. Other than that, anything else you want to be talking on that is to begin to flog an issue that you can leave to rest. In other words, until that situation changes, if you get my point, and as I'm sitting here, okay, the chairman of the party who put my name in INEC is Chief Dr. Victor Ikeoye.
Okay, just before we go, I just want to ask you this. What will you do about fuel subsidy? Do you think it's time for it to go? There's been this controversy that's taken up so much of our finances.
Yes, you would want to say things of graduated attention to such a matter. But I want to quickly get back to what has happened in other places in the world recently. You could see the President of America pleading with energy businesses to bring down the price of energy, of gas. You see, there's no hard and fast rule about all that. But what we had failed to do in the past is to get the trust of the people and that is what I said I'm going to do. And when I say it, people don't think it's weighty enough, it's everything. That I'm going to remove my personal interest from the picture. And when you do that, then if whatever you get, you apply them judiciously. And then if you do one thing properly, you're not going to go back to do them again.
All right, Professor Peter Umeadi of the popular Umeadi family. I remember there was one, I think in 1979, that was a vice presidential candidate to Awolowo, late Chief Obafemi Awolowo.
That is true.
Yes, and then we are having a presidential candidate this time around. So it looks like the Umeadis are all fighting to be president of the country.
Yeah, you see, my uncle, the illustrious Chief Philip Ezebilo Umeadi, SAN, of blessed memory, when he was running mate to Chief Awolowo in 1979, I just graduated LLB from University of Nigeria, Enugu campus, and he had a meeting at Ikene. He took me there
very quickly
and introduced me to Chief Awolowo in a sitting room. And that left some memory.
And that's why you're out here now trying to get in.
Well, I always remember that.
Okay, we must thank you so much, Professor Peter. Umeadi is a former Chief Judge of Anambra State, and he is the current presidential candidate of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, which is Nigeria's fourth largest political party, because you have a governor after APC, PDP, and of course, yeah, I mean, you even seem to be higher than Labour Party. Well, because you have a governor at the moment, but we must thank you so much for joining us on the show to take a look at issues across the nation, of course, what the party will be doing. Well, that has been for this edition of the Arise interview. Do join us again tomorrow from me and the entire team here in Abuja. Goodbye and thank you for watching. I'm Samuel Sambo.